Hello，大家能听到我吗？能听到我说话吗？听不到，我看一下啊。哦，现在听到了哈。声音有点轻，画面有点糊，我看一下啊，我调整一下。嗯，等一下，我现在在分享这个就是他们这个财报的信息，这个 slides 你们能看到吗？声音还好吗？现在还很轻。画面其实稍微无所谓点。我现在主要我们就来看财报啊啥的。声音的话，声音还是很轻吗？我试试看啊，怎么调整一下。Slides 轻的，好的好的。声音还是轻吗？如果实在不行，我可能就要就直接用机子里的麦克风这样。声音现在怎么样？哦，那声音还行就可以了。那我们财报前离财报电话会还有大概15分钟吧，那我们就一起来稍微看一下这个财报呗。看一下，对，第一部分我们先来一起看会儿财报，然后待会儿来一起听财报电话会议。我们都可以看到这个盘后的股价是表现比较可以的。那熟悉特斯拉的人都知道，我们很久都没有有这样好的情况过了吧？至少从市场反应啊。那我们来看一下，就一般我会去 investor relationship 里面找这个财报，然后大家可以看看那个它一般分几部分嘛，第一部分是财务 financial summary，然后 operation summary 就营运的情况，然后我们可以看到它还有这个车辆的一个制造的情况、产能啊，或者销量啊，然后一些core technology 就是技术方面的 AI 啊，还有一些 highlights outlook 可能就是以后的这个指引。那我们一起来看一下这个今天的财报吧，Q3季度看一下哈。等一下，我得把这个东西放到这来。声音还可以哈，声音又有点轻了吗？我现在挺响了啊，声音还是很轻吗？我不知道，嗯，看一下啊，等一下哦，我这里可能要调高一点，我看一下，对， 现在怎么样？现在声音还好了吗？对，我们稍微等一下哈。现在声音如何？如果听得见的话，可以告诉我，然后我们就开始一起看财报。哦，好了，对，我现在声音调过了，那应该好一点了。现在可以了。好，那我们一起来看财报吧。对，好，那现在就好。我把这个画面调整一下，这样我能同时看到评论，还有这个，我们可以一起来看一下。对，所以这个首先我们就看 summary 吧。好，第一部分他们说就是 Q3，然后 growth in vehicle delivery sequential and year on year，就是说它比二季度还有去年的这个季度 Q3 季度都deliver 了更多的车辆嘛，这个没啥好说的。然后是一个破纪录的 delivery。Second highest quarter regulatory credit revenue， 就是说它这个政府的这一个差不多 credit， 就是说卖那个清洁能源的这个 credit， 它有 revenue 也有收入嘛。cost good， 就是 cost of goods sold per vehicle came down low ever， 就是说他们我们知道特斯拉一直在降低这一个车的这个制造的成本嘛，对吧？这是它的一直以来的一个 strategy， 所以它一直在下降这个材料或者是技术的一个成本啊。那可以看到它我们知道它的我刚才大概瞥了一眼，就是它的这个 margin 毛利润是升高了，所以我们看看大概主要导致这个毛利润升高的原因是哪几方面吧。我知道我大概瞟了一眼这个 headline， 就是这个头条一般都说这一个 surprise 就是惊讶点都是主要是在于这个毛利润增加了很多嘛，有反弹的这个趋势，所以市场的反馈比较好。对，我们看一下啊，这个没啥。对，那个 We Robot Event。Energy， 我们都知道这个 Energy 呢，是现在的一个主要的增长点吧。就是因为这个车辆的确它的 margin 短期内是比较有压力的，所以这个 Energy business，这个能源方面是短期的一个看点，或者未来1-2年，我觉得 Energy 都是一个比较重要的看点。然后接下来我们看看这个 AI 方面的收入，会不会增加？但短期的话，我知道这个 Energy 是比较强势的，主要的增长引擎就在这个 Energy 嘛。对 ，Despite this， 对。反正现在的这个策略呢，首先就是要把车继续这个成本下降，然后把至少车的那部分毛利率给稳定住。然后第二部分呢，增长引擎在这个 energy， 对吧？第三部分呢，就是长期它继续要大力投入到这个 AI 的 project， 也就是我们知道的这个 FSD 的大量投入，还有这一个机器人嘛，无论是买这个芯片而言呢，还是一些人才 training， 各种 data 的 training expense data center， 就是我们知道的，都会需要短期内它的收入都是比较少的，对于整个特斯拉的财报表现。但是这也是一个长期的一个计划嘛，我们都知道特斯拉是个 AI 公司，所以长期短期还是要大力在这个 AI 方面投入，对吧？看一下我看一下，然后这一个表现的话，gap 这些对 operation cash flow free cash flow， 就是我们知道这个 cash 方面其实对于特斯拉蛮重要的，它目前是一个整体的经济相对比较弱，然后一个高利率的一个周期嘛，我们还处在一个相对高利率的周期虽然现在已经慢慢开始降息了，所以这段时间对于特斯拉来说是比较难过的，因为它的车辆会卖的比较 贵，我们也知道了，它推出了很多政策嘛，比如说零息，5年还是6年的一个零息策略。短期内的话，能看到它这个 cash 还在增加，其实是蛮难得的。你看我们看到这一点很重要，它在 AI 方面的确是在坚持投入的，有75%的一个那个算力的提高嘛，75%的算力提高。我们看看是因为买了特别多的芯片，还是因为 Dojo 方面也提供了很多的这个算力支持。CyberTruck 你看third best selling EV Q3 这么快 ，CyberTruck 从去年开始销售，对吧？还是今年年初，我有点忘了，可能去年年末吧。然后已经成为了卖的第3好的这个 EV Q3 对。FSD 2 billion mile driven accumulated 对 more than Q3。所以我们看到它这个 FSD 的这个行驶里程，目前为止是开始以一个比较好的指数型增长，我们可能会看到一个指数型增长嘛，对吧？这一部分无论是对于特斯拉的继续训练，对它这个 FSD 版本的迭新而言也好，还是对它长期能够通过这个审批，对吧？我们知道它要明年要落地这个 Robotaxi 而言也好，这些数据都是非常的重要的我们最近看到了一个初步的消息嘛，在它那个加州的 Palo Alto 好像就是说有初步的这个讨论，要在局部地区落地这个 Robotaxi 那我们大致来看看这个对我看一下哈。Cybertruck 毛利开转正，的确我们都知道这个在量产爬坡的初期，这个毛利一般都是比较差的。等真正走起量来，它这个毛利我们看看Cybertruck 到底会达到一个多少大的对吧？毛利嘛，我们再迅速看一下这个表现 Total Automotive Revenue， 你看到没有？就是其实这个车的这个毛利还是一般，就是还是一般的，所以短期我们不会指望它能够提供一个增长，就是只有2%嘛 ，year over year 可以忽略不计的一个表现。但是 quarter over quarter 呢，稍微一点吧，也没太大变化，所以整体这个车的确没啥好看的，你看嘛，这个 energy 方面，对吧？能源方面还是一个大头增长的大头，我们可以看到，就是 year over year 有52%的一个增长。Service and other revenue 就随着这个车的越来越多嘛，它这部分 service 就是汽修维修一些各种保养可能类似所有的方面，它也会出现一个增长，这个有个29%的增长。当然，它这一部分占总的这个营收的比例还是相对比较低的嘛我们可以看到，所以主要的话，暂时首要的是这个车的一个 revenue 接下来的话service 也开起来了。我们可以看到占到总的营收，这个 energy 和 service 都已经开始占到差不多有个10%左右的一个比例吧，那还是不错的。total gross profit 你看也year over year 我们可以看到每季度都在一个回复的过程中，今年开始然后 year over year 有个20%的一个表现，那还是不错的。Operating expense 就是说它运营这个公司那个各种开支嘛，那我们也看到其实它在一个降低，特别是 quarter over quarter 有个特别好的降低 ，year over year 就是这个 business 在那个 grow， 它整个业务在增强，但是它的营运的开支在减少这一部分其实特斯拉一直做的挺不错的，这个营运方面Income from operation 对这个营运的营收也有比较大的增长嘛，54%对这个 operating margin 是还是重要的，这个体现出来它营运的一个效率嘛，对吧？所以我们可以看到它一直这个营运的效率也在提升这一部分其实挺好的。 我们可以看一下啊，待会儿如果我觉得待会儿时间差不多，我们去听一下财报。财报里面重点信息，我听到的话，可能我也可以给大家翻译一下对，或者财报结束了，我们大概听一下，翻译一下，我做一个笔记，这样可以对，所以快速看一下这个 revenue grow in vehicle delivery， 所以主要是在这个车的一个 delivery 上，第一部分，第二部分 energy 能源方面，然后我们可以看到这个 FSD 的销量，对 FSD recognition， 对，因为之前的 FSD 它的功能是不是完整的嘛，所以它不能把所有的钱算到它的账上。当这个 FSD 能力越来越强的时候，它可以把以往 FSD 卖掉的费用算到它的这个营收上。对，最大的亮点应该就是这个 margin 嘛，一个是 profit 那个 operating margin 对吧？10%，上个季度特别低嘛，我记得是不是？好像上个季度只有6%嘛，那终于突破这个2位数了，对吧？10%，那还是蛮好的。对，我看一下啊，其他我们就暂时先待会儿再看吧，好不好？我们先听一下财报。我看一下，Listen Q3。大家能听到这个财报的声音吗？那我稍微轻点。对，不过那个听财报的时候，我说话你们听得到吗？现在还是说只能听到财报的声音？我因为第一次做这种类型的直播。对，能同时听到我的声音吗？好像要开始了。
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tesla's third quarter 2024 Q&A webcast. My name is Travis Axelrod, Head of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by Elon Musk, Vaibhav Taneja, and a number of other executives. Our Q3 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. During the question and answer portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. Before we jump into Q&A, Elon has some opening remarks. Elon?
Thank you. So to recap, as someone saying, it's something that automotive industry are seeing year-over-year declines in order volumes in Q3. Tesla at the same time has achieved record deliveries. In fact, I think if you look at EV companies worldwide, to the best of my knowledge, no EV company is even profitable. And I'm not, to the best of my knowledge, there was no EV division of any company, of any existing auto company that is profitable. So it is notable that Tesla is profitable despite a very challenging automotive environment. And this quarter actually is a record Q3 for us. So we produced our 7th million vehicle actually just yesterday. So congratulations to the teams that made it happen at Tesla. That's a staggeringly immense amount of work to make 7 million cars. Let's see, and we also have the energy storage business is growing like wildfire with strong demand for both Megapack and Powerwall. And as people know, on October 10th, we laid out our vision for an autonomous and electric future that I think is very compelling. The Tesla team did a phenomenal job there with actually giving people an opportunity to experience the future, where you have humanoid robots walking among the crowd, not with a canned video presentation or anything, but literally walking among the crowd, serving drinks and whatnot. And we had 50 autonomous vehicles. There were 20 CyberCats, but there were an additional 30 Model Ys operating fully autonomously the entire night, carrying thousands of people with no incidents the entire night. And for those who went there, it's worth emphasizing that the CyberCat had no steering wheel or brake or accelerator pedals, meaning there was no way for anyone to intervene manually, even if they wanted to, and the whole night went very smoothly. So, regarding the vehicle business, we are still on track to deliver more affordable models starting in the first half of 2025. This is, I think probably people are wondering, well, what should they assume for vehicle sales growth next year? And at the risk of to take a bit of risk here, I do want to give some rough estimate, which is I think it's 20 to 30% vehicle growth next year. Notwithstanding negative external events, like if there's some force majeure events, like some big war breaks out or interest rates go sky high or something like that, then we can't overcome massive force majeure events. But I think with our lower cost vehicles, with the advent of autonomy, something like a 20 to 30% growth next year is my best guess. And then CyberCat reaching volume production in 26. We do feel confident of CyberCat reaching volume production in 26, not just starting production, but reaching volume production in 26. And that should be substantial growth. We're aiming for at least 2 million units a year of CyberCat. That'll be in more than one factory, but I think it's at least 2 million units a year, maybe 4 million ultimately. These are just my best guesses, but if you ask me what my best guess is, those are my best guesses. The Cell 4680 lines, the team is actually doing great work there. the 4680 is rapidly approaching the point where it is the most competitive cell. So when you consider the fully landed the cost of a battery pack fully landed in the U.S. net of incentives and duties, the 4680 is tracking to be the most competitive, meaning lower cost per kilowatt hour fully considered than any other alternative, which is not quite there yet, but we're close to being there, which I think is extremely exciting. And we've got a lot of ideas to go well beyond that. So I think if we execute well, the 4680 will have the Tesla internally produced cell will be the most cost competitive cell in certainly North America. A testament to a tremendous amount of hard work there by the team. So that's it. We'll continue to buy a lot of cells from our competitors. Our intent is not to make cells just internally. So I don't want to set off any alarm bells here. We're obviously increasing substantially our vehicle output and our stationary storage output. So we need a lot of cells. And most of them will still come from suppliers, but I think it is some good news that the Tesla internal cell is tracking to be the most competitive in the US. So with respect to autonomy, as people are experiencing in the cars, really from week to week, there are significant improvements in the miles between interventions. So with the new version 12.5, the release of Full Self-Driving and Cybertruck, the combining the code into a single stack so that the city driving and the end-to-end highway driving are one stack, which is a big improvement for the highway driving. So it's just all neural nets. And the release of actually Smart Summon. We try to have a sense of humor here at Tesla. And we're also, so that's 12.5. Version 13 of FSD is going out soon. Ashok will elaborate more on that later in the call. We expect to see roughly a 5 or 6-fold improvement in miles between interventions compared to 12.5. And actually, looking at the year as a whole, the improvement in miles between interventions, we think will be at least 3 orders of magnitude. So that's a very dramatic improvement in the course of the year. And we expect that trend to continue next year. So the current internal expectation, internal expectation for the Tesla FSD having longer miles between interventions than human is the second quarter of next year. Which means it may end up being the third quarter, but it's next. It seems extremely likely to be next year. Sure, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, when measuring miles between critical interventions, like you mentioned, Elon, we already made a 100x improvement with 12.5 from starting of this year, and then with V13 release, we expect to be 1000x from January of this year on my production release software. And this came in because of technology improvements, going to end-to-end, having higher frame rate, partly also helped by hardware force, more capabilities, so on. And we hope that we continue to scale the neural network, the data, the training compute, etc. By Q2 next year, we should cross over the average human miles per critical intervention, or like collision in that case.
I mean, that is just unvarnished our internal estimate.
Yes. Yeah.
So That's no sandbagging or anything else. Our internal estimate is Q2 of next year to be safer than human, and then to continue with rapid improvements thereafter. Vast majority of humanity has no idea that Teslas can drive themselves. So, especially for something like a Model 3 or Model Y, it looks like a normal car. So you don't expect a normal car to be able to be intelligent enough to drive itself. Yeah, CyberCat looks different. Cybertruck looks different, but Model Y and Model 3 they're good-looking cars, but they look fairly normal. You don't expect a fairly normal-looking car to have the intelligence, enough AI to be able to drive itself, but it does. So we do want to expose that to more people, and so we're doing, every time we have a significant improvement in the software, we'll roll out another sort of 30-day trial, so to encourage people to try it again. And we are seeing a significant improvement in adoption. So the take rate for FSD has improved substantially, especially after the 1010 event. Yeah, so there's no need to wait for robotaxi or CyberCat to experience full autonomy. We expect to achieve that next year with our existing vehicle line.
What it's worth, actually, Smart Summon gives a small taste of what it's going to look like. The car able to drive itself to the user within private parking lots. Currently, it's speed limited, but then it's going to quickly be increased. And we already had more than 1 million usage in terms of Smart Summon.
Yep. So, and we have for Tesla employees in the Bay Area, we already are offering a ride-hailing capability. So you can actually with the development app, you can request a ride, and it'll take you anywhere in the Bay Area. We do have a safety driver for now, but the software required to do that, we've developed. And I mean, David, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. It's David. We showed some screenshots of this in the Q1 shareholder deck, and this is real. We've been testing it for the better part of the year, and the building blocks that we needed in order to build this functionality and deliver it to production, we've been thinking about and working on for years. It just so happens that we've used those building blocks to deliver great features for our customers in the meantime, such as sharing your profile, synchronizing it across cars, so that every single car that you jump into, whether it's another car that you own or a car that somebody's loaned to you or a rental car that you jump into, it looks exactly like yours. Everything synchronized, seat mirror positions, media, navigation, everything is the same. Just what you would expect from one of our robotaxis. But we gave that functionality to our customers right now because we built it intending for it to be used in the future. We're releasing that functionality now. All the end-to-end cybersecurity that we knew we were going to need to deliver that functionality. Sending a navigation to destination from your phone to the vehicle. And so, you're doing that now with the ride-hailing app, but it's something that we've made available to customers for years. Seeing the progress on a route in the mobile app, that's something you'll need for the ride-hailing app, but again, we released it in the meantime. So it's not like we're just starting to think about this stuff right now while we're building out, the early stages of our ride-hailing network. We've been thinking about this for quite a long time, and we're excited to get the functionality out there.
Yeah, and we do expect to roll out ride-hailing in California and Texas next year to the public. Now, California is there's quite a long regulatory approval process. I think we should get approval next year, but it's contingent upon regulatory approval. Texas is a lot faster, so it's I'd say we'll definitely have it available in Texas. And probably have it available in California, subject to regulatory approval, and maybe some other states actually next year as well, but at least California and Texas. So I think that'll be very exciting. That's really a profound change. Tesla becomes more than a sort of vehicle and battery manufacturing company at that point. So we published our Q3 vehicle safety report, which shows one crash for every 7 million miles of autopilot. That compares to the US average of one crash roughly every 700,000 miles. So it's currently showing a 10x safety improvement relative to the US average. And we continue to expand our AI training capacity to accommodate the needs of both FSD and Optimus. We're currently not training compute constrained. It's probably the biggest limiting factor is that the FSD is actually getting so good that it takes us a while to actually find mistakes. And when you start getting to where it can take 10,000 miles to find a mistake, it's a while to figure out which is this build, is this software build better than, is software build A better than software build B? It actually takes you a while to figure it out because neither one of them are making mistakes. What take a long time to make mistakes. So that's actually the single biggest limiting factor is how long does it take us to figure out which version is better. So sort of high class problem. Obviously, having a giant fleet is very helpful for breaking this out. And then with Optimus, we showed a massive improvement in Optimus's dexterity and movement on October 10th, and our next gen hand and forearm, which has 22 degrees of freedom, which is double the prior hand and forearm. It's extremely human-like. It also has much better tactile sensing. It's really, I feel confident in saying that we have the most advanced humanoid robot by a long shot. And we're moreover the only company that really has all of the ingredients necessary to scale robots. Because the things that what other companies are missing is that they're missing the AI brain, and they're missing the ability to really scale to very high volume production. So you sometimes see some impressive video demos, but they lack the localized AI and the ability to scale volume to very high numbers. As I've said on a few occasions before, I think Optimus will ultimately be the most valuable part. And I think it has a good chance of being the most valuable product ever made. For the energy business, that's doing extremely well. And the opportunity ahead is gigantic. The Lathrop Megapack factory reached 200 megapacks a week, which is now a 40 gigawatt hour a year run rate. And we have a second factory in Shanghai that will begin with a 20 gigawatt hour a year run rate in Q1 next year, so just next quarter. And that'll also scale up. It won't be long before we're shipping 100 gigawatt hours a year stationary storage at Tesla. And that'll ultimately grow, I think, to multiple terawatt hours per year. It has to actually, in order to have a sustainable energy future. If you're not at the terawatt scale, you're not really moving the needle. So if you look at our admittedly very complicated last master plan, which I think actually has too much detail, maybe I'll ask Grok to analyze it and
shorten it up.
Yeah, give us the TLDR on the last master plan. But we showed in that master plan that it is possible to take all of Earth to a fully sustainable energy situation using sustainable energy, power generation, and batteries and electric transport. And there are no fundamental material limitations. Like there's not some very rare material that we don't have enough of on Earth. We actually have enough of the raw materials to take all of human civilization, make it a fully sustainable And even if civilization dramatically increased its electricity usage, it would still be fully sustainable. One way to think of the progress of a civilization, this may sound a little esoteric, but is percentage completion of Kardashev scale. So Kardashev scale 1 would be you're using all the power of a planet. We're currently less than 1% on Kardashev level 1. Level 2 would be using all the power of the sun. And level 3, all the power of the galaxy. So we got a long way to go. Long way to go. When you think in Kardashev terms, it becomes obvious that by far the biggest source of energy is the sun. Everything else is in the noise. So in conclusion, Tesla is focused on building the future of energy, transport, robotics, and AI. And this is a time when others are just focused on managing around near-term trends. We think what we're doing is the right approach, and if we execute on our objectives, and I think we will, Tesla, my prediction is Tesla will become the most valuable company in the world, and probably by a long shot. I want to thank the Tesla team once again for strong execution in a tough operating environment, and we're looking forward to building an incredibly exciting future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Elon. And Bob has some opening remarks as well.
Yeah, thanks. Our Q3 results were overall positive and once again demonstrate the scale to which businesses evolved over the years with the generation of record operating cash flows of $6.3 billion. Our automotive revenues grew both quarter-on-quarter and year-on-year. While we had unit volume growth, we did experience a reduction in ASPs, primarily due to the impact of financing incentives. As a reminder, we are providing these incentives primarily using third-party banks and financial institutions and recognize the cost of these incentives as an upfront reduction to revenue. We released FSD for Cybertruck and other features like Actually Smart Summon, like Elon talked about in North America, which contributed $326 million of revenues in the quarter. We continue to see elevated levels of regulatory credit sales with over $2 billion of revenues so far this year. To expand on this, at an industry level, China continues to outperform US and Europe by a factor of 3. And if there is something to be learned from that, this gives a signal of what is to come in other regions as customers' acceptance of EV grows. And we feel that is the right strategy to build affordable and more compelling EVs. Our focus remains on growing unit volume while avoiding a buildup of inventory. To support this strategy, we're continuing to offer extremely compelling vehicle financing options in every market. When you compare any vehicle in our lineup with other OEMs, we believe our vehicles provide much better value, particularly when you consider the safety features, performance, and unparalleled software functionalities like David also talked about, include also what Ashok had talked about around autonomy, music options, parental controls, and much more. While every vehicle in our lineup comes up with these capabilities, there is an awareness gap, not just with buyers, but at times even with existing owners. We plan on making these more visible in our interactions with both existing and future customers. Automotive margins improved quarter-over-quarter as a result of FSD features release discussed before. Increase in our overall production and delivery volume, continued benefit from commodity pricing, and more localized deliveries in region, which resulted in lower freight and duties. Sustaining these margins in Q4, however, will be challenging given the current economic environment. Note that we are focused on the cost per vehicle, and there are numerous work streams within the company to squeeze out costs without compromising on customer experience.
Yeah, something that's a helpful, hopefully a helpful macro trend is if there's a decline in interest rates, this has a massive effect on the on automotive demand. The vast majority of people is or the demand is driven by the monthly payment. Can they afford the monthly payment? So like most likely we'll see continued decline in interest rates, which helps with affordability of vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, that is one trend which we observed in the industry that, because of the affordability being impacted because of interest rates, people are holding on to the cars longer, especially in the US. And that is actually having an impact on the overall industry too. As we discussed earlier, as we discussed in prior quarters, energy deployments fluctuate quarter-over-quarter due to customer readiness, location of orders being fulfilled, and not necessarily an indicator of demand or production within the quarter. While we did see a decline in Q3, we expect to grow deployments sequentially in Q4 to end the year with more than double the of last year. Energy margins in Q3 were a record at more than 30%. This is a function of mix of projects being deployed in the quarter. Note that there will be fluctuation in margins as we manage through deployments and our inventory. Our pipeline and backlog continue to grow quarter-over-quarter as we fill our 2025 production slots, and we're doing our level best to keep up with the demand. Just coming back on automotive margins, I talked about what is happening. One other thing which I want to also share is that we will continue to keep whatever we can to squeeze, like I said before, about squeezing out the cost. But this is something which we also are very capable of. I mean, just in Q3, we reached our lowest cost per vehicle, and that is a trend which we want to keep focus on. Then going on to service and other, we continue to show improvements in Q3. This was a result of better performance both in our service business, which includes collision, part sales, and merchandise, and continued growth in supercharging. These fleet-based revenues will continue to grow as the overall fleet size increases. Our operating expenses declined quarter-over-quarter and on a year-on-year basis. This is partially due to the restructuring we undertook in Q2. Cost saving from these initiatives were partially offset by increase in costs related to our AI efforts. We've started using the GPU cluster based out of our factory in Austin ahead of schedule, and are on track to get 50K GPUs deployed in Texas by the end of this month. One thing which I'd like to elaborate is that we're being very judicious on our AI compute spend too, and saying how best we can utilize the existing infrastructure before making further investments. On the CapEx front, we had over $3.5 billion in the quarter. This was a sequential increase largely because of investments in AI compute. We now expect the CapEx for the year to be in excess of $11 billion. We shared our vision for the future at the We Robot event at the beginning of the month. The Tesla team is hyper-focused on delivering on that vision, and all efforts are underway to make it a reality. While we've achieved significant progress this year, it will take time to get this as we pioneer new and incredibly complex technologies and navigate a fragmented regulatory landscape. The future is incredibly bright, and I want to thank the Tesla team once again for all their help.
Great. Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Now we'll go to investor questions. The first one is Tesla still on track to deliver the more affordable model next year, as mentioned by Elon earlier? And how does it align with your AI product roadmap?
Sure. I mean, as Elon and Vaibhav both said, we are in plan to meet that in the first half of next year. Our mission has always been to lower the cost of our vehicles to increase the adoption of sustainable energy and transport. Part of that is lowering the cost for current vehicles, which is where all of the personally owned vehicles that we sell today come in. But the next stage in that really, as it fits into AI roadmap, is when we bring in robotaxis, which lowers the initial cost of getting into an EV. And that's really where we see the marriage of EV roadmap and the AI roadmap.
Yeah. It'll be like with incentive sub 30K, which is kind of a key threshold.
Great. Thank you very much. Similar question next. When can we expect Tesla to give us the $25,000 non-robotaxi regular car model?
We're not making it on road.
Yeah, all our vehicles today are road taxis.
I think we've made very clear that we're the future is autonomous. I mean, it's going to be, and I actually said this many years ago, but that in my strong belief, and I believe that is panning out to be true, and it'll be very obvious in retrospect, is that the future is autonomous electric vehicles, and non-autonomous gasoline vehicles in the future will be like riding a horse and using a flip phone. It's not that there are no horses. Yeah, there are some horses, but they're unusual. They're niche. So it just everything's going to be electric autonomous. I think this is blind, like it should be frankly blindingly obvious at this point. That is the future. So a lot of automotive companies, most automotive companies have not internalized this, which is surprising, because we've been shouting this from the rooftops for such a long time, and it will accrue to their detriment in the future. But all of our vehicles in the future will be autonomous.
Even today.
Yeah, yes, all the vehicles that we've really made, all the 7 million vehicles, the vast majority are capable of autonomy. We're currently making on the order of 35,000 autonomous vehicles a week. If you compare that to, say, Waymo's entire fleet, they have less than 1,000 cars. We make 35K a week.
Yeah, and our cars look normal.
Yeah, they mostly look normal. The Cybertruck looks,
Yes.
thankfully, looks abnormal. And then the CyberCat / robotaxi, we wanted to have something futuristic looking. I think it does look futuristic. And it's worth noting with respect to the CyberCat, it's actually not just a revolution in vehicle design, but a revolution in vehicle manufacturing that is also coming with the CyberCab. The cycle time, like the units per hour of the CyberCab line, is like, this is just really something special. I mean, this is probably half order of magnitude better than other car manufacturing lines. Like not in the same league is what I'm saying. Not in the same league. So it's and I said several years ago that maybe the hardest Tesla product to copy will be the factory. You can't just buy a factory.
You can't reverse engineer a factory. It's have to buy it.
Yeah, it's like, if we can, yeah. We're rapidly evolving in manufacturing technology. So anyway, there's basically, I think, having a regular 25K model is pointless.
Yeah,
it would be silly. It would be completely at odds with what we believe.
In an autonomous world, what matters is the lowest cost per mile of efficiency of that vehicle, and that's what we've done with the robotaxi.
Exactly, autonomous. It's fully considered cost per mile, is what matters. And if you try to make a car that is, essentially a hybrid manual automatic car, it's not going to be as good as a dedicated autonomous car. So yeah, CyberCab is just not going to have steering wheels and pedals. It's fully designed, optimized for autonomy. But no, it'll cost on the order of cost roughly 25K. So it is a 25K car, and you will be able to buy one on it exclusively if you want. So just won't have steering wheel and pedals. You don't need it.
Great. Thank you very much. The next question is, what is Tesla doing to alleviate long wait times at service centers?
So we aim on solving problems at the source, so at the factory, before they can even affect our customers. We believe the best service is no service, and
it really is.
don't even have them.
If the car doesn't break,
Yeah, exactly.
that's the best thing.
Don't see anyone with the Tesla shirt. You either do it fix the issue upstream, or do it remotely, do it through software. It can be at work or at home, and the car can be parked, and we address and fix the issue. And we've partnered the field with service to make sure we're looking at the same issues. And additionally, just in Q3 and Q4 of this year alone, we have opened and will open in total at nearly 70 locations. And in North America, we significantly expanded the size of each location and have doubled the size last year compared to this year.
Yeah, I think it's like actually a lot of merits to having large service centers, because you can have specialization of labor. You can start to approach. Yeah, it should be more factory-like. Where you can have dedicated lanes for particular types of service, and it's way easier for somebody to become expert in a few different types of repairs than in every repair.
Exactly. This has helped us with the base instead of these heavy repairs, like clogging up the lane. There's dedicated lanes for different type of repairs. And so it's throughput matters and really treating it like a factory.
Yeah, this is where Tesla's structure, I think, Tesla has a structural advantage relative to the rest of the auto industry, because we make the cars and we service the cars, whereas I think there's a bit of a conflict of interest with the dealer model and the sort of traditional OEM and dealer model, where the dealerships make most of their money on service, and so they obviously are disincented to reduce the servicing cost.
Yeah.
Whereas in our case, we are incented to reduce the servicing cost because we carry that servicing cost, and we've got a good feedback with our cars.
The best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we review with the factory, with the service leaders together, and send people from the factories to the field and field to the factory to see it firsthand.
Exactly.
Provide suggestions for manufacturing as well as for engineering on design.
Yeah, so I view this as a fundamental structural advantage of Tesla versus the rest of the auto industry.
Also doing a bunch of work on the software side, not only to automate, diagnostics, so identifying what needs to be done to a car before it comes into service, but also automating all of the preparation work and aligning all the resources that are necessary in order for the car to be very efficiently worked on once it arrives. So the parts are there, like the lift is scheduled, the technician schedule, like everything's ready
Like
to go.
the car says, this is what's wrong with me, and tells the service center.
The car
Get everything ready in advance.
Yeah, please fix me, and this is what's wrong.
Yeah, this is what I recommend you do now. This is what I recommend.
instead of customer trying to translate, the car is telling us directly, and we're pulling that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need, most of the time you don't need to diagnose the car
Exactly.
when it arrives. The car, this is like, again,
You
a
got the
fundamental technology advantage and structural advantage compared to the rest of the auto industry.
I think it's underappreciated as to what all we are able to do.
Yeah.
And that's why, because like you said before, most of our cars, except for Cybertruck, look the same.
Yeah.
Right? So people don't realize that it has so much capability.
Yeah. They look better than other cars, but they're not like obviously like super futuristic.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. The next question is, please provide an update on the Semi. What will the next stage of growth look like, and when will FSD be ready?
Sure. So as we posted in the earnings deck, we're progressing swiftly on the build of the Semi factory in our Gigafactory in Reno. We've released all our major capital expenditures for that program, and we're on track to start pilot builds in the second half of next year, with production starting the first half of 2026 and ramping really throughout the year to full production. Semi, growth will largely depend on our customers' adoption of the product.
Well, I don't think we're going to be demand limited, honestly.
Yeah, which I was going to say, which is like a
Capital,
no-brainer for the Semi, because it's really a commodity of total cost of ownership.
Yes, exactly. We have kind of ridiculous demand for the Semi.
In that world where it's about how much do I spend to move goods
exactly.
cents per mile, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, fundamentally, if you've got a Semi where the fully considered cost per mile per ton of transport is better than, say, a diesel truck, any company that doesn't adopt an electric Semi will lose. It's not a subjective thing. It's like whether do you like the stat.
Competitive.
I mean, we want the stat. We want to have a beautiful Semi truck, but frankly, if we made an ugly Semi truck, it wouldn't matter.
And this is proving so in our fleets. In Pepsi's a partner. In fact, the Pepsi actually said last week their drivers don't want to go back
Yeah. As soon as we give anyone the electric semi, it's like that's like the choice.
It's what they want to drive.
Yeah. That's like so the most senior, like their top drivers, well, they get to drive the Tesla semi. And it's the thing they want to drive. It's super fun to drive.
It's also very easy to drive.
It's easy to drive, and it holds ass. Yeah. It's like fast.
Yeah, super fast. Maybe too fast.
Well, but I mean, like regular like you've seen like the videos of where like the Tesla electric semi can go uphill, speeding past like the diesel truck,
or even cars.
Yeah, even cars. So it's responsive. It's you floor it and the truck actually moves.
And that's a benefit not only for the driver and for the goods, but also for safety in terms of other drivers on the road. You don't get stuck behind the semi. You're not in a slowdown situation in an on-ramp. I mean, how that plays into, FSD, which is the second part of the question. All of the semis have been, since the couple hundred we've deployed already, and the ones that we'll be building next year and throughout the future, have all of the hardware and the cameras necessary to deploy FSD, and we're currently training with that small fleet that we have. And as soon as the fleet is trained and the neural nets are up, we'll get FSD onto that platform.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a massive improvement in driver fatigue, because and driver safety. We've got sort of the anti-jackknifing software.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about your brakes overheating if you go down a steep hill, because we use regenerative. Like that energy goes back into the pack.
Actually, when we leave Reno,
it's just like it's like radically better than a diesel semi. It's what the drivers love it.
Good. Great, guys. Thank you very much. Our next question is: when will Tesla incorporate X and Grok in all of the Tesla vehicles?
Well, I mean, these are relatively small fry things, but yeah, I think. We'll keep expanding, what is available in the car on the screen, and also improving like the browser. So just generally you can access anything you want in the car. In fact, for the Tesla, once you get to full autonomy, you actually want fully a system that is can do anything. Like if you want to browse the internet, if you want to ask AI questions, if you want to watch a movie, if you want to play a video game, if you want to do some productivity thing, you can do anything you want in an autonomous vehicle because you don't need to drive. So that's why the CyberCat's got a nice big screen and a great sound system. So you can watch a great movie with. It's like being like in a
personal movie theater.
Yeah, personal movie theater. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is why we've been building this functionality, adding gaming to the car, adding movies and other, all sorts of different media applications to the car, because,
the cars.
That's what you're gonna. The cars that we build today.
There's some really fun games, by the way. If people haven't tried it, there's like Castle Doombad and Polytopia and a bunch of really fun games in the car.
Yeah, we're constantly looking at what features to add next, and we're paying attention to what's most commonly requested by our customers.
Yeah, play Castle Doombad. You won't regret it.
Great. Thank you guys very much. The next question is, Elon mentioned unsupervised FSD in California and Texas next year. Does that mean regulators have agreed to it in the entire state for existing hardware 3 and 4 vehicles?
No, as I said earlier, California loves regulation.
But they have a pathway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pathway. Obviously, Waymo operates in California, so there's just a lot of forms to fill out and a lot of approvals that are required. I mean, I'd be shocked if we don't get approval next year, but it's just not something we totally control. But I think we will get approval next year in California and Texas, and towards the end of the year, it will branch out beyond California and Texas.
I mean, I think it's important to reiterate this, like homologating or certifying a vehicle at the federal level in the US is done by meeting FMVSS regulations. All our vehicles today that are produced that are autonomous capable meet all those regulations. The CyberCat will meet those regulations. And so the deployment of the vehicle to the road is not a limitation. What is a limitation is what you said at the state level, where they control autonomous vehicle deployment. Some states are relatively easy, as you mentioned, for Texas.
Yeah.
And so other ones have pathways, like California, that may take a little longer. Other ones haven't set up anything yet. And so we will work through those state by state. And get it.
I do think we should have a federal.
I agree.
Like autonomous vehicles should be approved. It should be possible to.
Congress, if you're listening, let's get a federal AV.
There should be a federal approval process for autonomous vehicles. I mean, that's how the FMVSS is
started and worked.
Federal motor vehicle. The FMVSS is federal.
Yeah. So I mean, in 2017 and 18, it's when regulators started looking at it, and it's really kind of stalled since then. But we would appreciate and would support helping out with those regulations.
It really needs to be like a national approval is important. If there's a Department of Government Efficiency, I'll try to help make that happen. And just for everyone, not just Tesla, obviously. But we like some things in the U.S. are state by state regulated. Like for example, insurance, and it's incredibly painful to do it state by state, 50 states. And I think there should be a national approval process for autonomy. So.
Great. Thanks, guys. The next question is, what is the plan for 2025?
Basically, we talked through this. There's a lot going on. Elon already mentioned that we're working on cheaper models to come out. There work which the team is doing to get the factories ready today to try and make that happen.
Yeah. By the way, the amount of work required to make a lower cost car is insanely high. But like it is harder to get like 20% of the cost out of a car than it is to design the car and build the entire factory in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It's like excruciating, and there's not a lot of movies made about the heroes who got 20% of the cost out of a car. But let me tell you, there should be.
Little changes.
Everyone who got that is incredibly heroic.
It's the little changes. It's not like a silver.
Yeah, it's like there should be the heroes who got 20% cost out of a car. Is like, damn, I have a lot of respect for them.
We're talking
movie. It's like, I think you probably could make a compelling movie, but it just no. Like, if people actually saw how hard it was to do that, you'd be like, whoa, that's damn hard.
Just yesterday we were talking about potting.
Honestly, like literally, yeah. There's a lot of, but I do call it sort of like getting cost out of things. It's kind of like, it's like Game of Pennies. It's like Game of Thrones, but pennies. First approximation, if you've got 10,000 items in a car, very rough approximation, and each of them costs $4, then you have a $40,000 car. So then if you want to make a $35,000 car, you've got to get 50 cents on average out of the 10,000 items.
Every part.
Yeah. And it's like, and then obviously the best is you delete some parts. In fact, we found to be able to delete a lot of parts. I'm very excited about the CyberCat design and how we're rethinking the design of a car for the CyberCat, designing it for ultra high volume production, and then designing a machine that builds the machine that I think is also revolutionary. And it's just that there's no other car company that's even trying to do what we're doing. Like, I've even heard of it, actually. In fact, I'm certain there isn't one. I think our new machine that builds the machine, like it's inherent, like it's designed to be like, five times better than a traditional factory. Like cycle time and like part deletion, material movement. I don't think any other car company has the same level of like integration of thought that we have when it comes to like when you design a part from a white sheet of paper, who's going to make it? Where is it going to be made? How's it going to be shipped? How's it going to be assembled into the vehicle? And like at any one point, if something is done in a silo, it becomes a bottleneck of either cost or time or efficiency. But with the robotaxi, the development, like we've done a good job on combining all that and then like blowing up how it's made and saying it should be made this way and rethinking it all so that it's the most efficient factory possible. That shows it will show in our CapEx efficiency when we deploy it. It shows in the number of parts, it shows in the simplicity of the vehicle, but also how it performs in terms of like end user state.
Yeah. Just to close out, just on the energy front, also in 2025, we will have started manufacturing at the Mega Factory Shanghai. We'll continue to increase our overall storage deployments with Powerwall 3. We plan to continue expanding our supercharging network, getting more OEMs on our network. 4680 cell ramp, as Elon talked about, that would keep going. And then we also will have our lithium refinery starting to produce. So there's a lot which is going on.
Great. Yeah, so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy thing is like Tesla's winning basically on almost every single thing we're doing. If we're not winning now, we're on track to win. In arenas where there are entire large companies, that's the only thing they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a company. There are multiple companies within the company.
Yeah, Tesla's like many companies doing one.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Just a few more. What is going on with the Tesla Roadster?
Fun things.
Well, I just like to thank our long-suffering deposit holders of the Tesla Roadster. The reason it hasn't come out yet is because the Roadster is not just the icing on the cake; it's the cherry on the icing on the cake. And so, our larger mission is to accelerate the progress towards a sustainable energy future. Try to do things that maximize the probability that the future is good for humanity and for Earth. And so that necessarily means that like the things like that are kind of like dessert. We'd all love to work on the Tesla, the next gen Tesla Roadster. It is super fun, and we are working on it. But it has to come behind the more things that have a more serious impact on the good of the world. So just thank you to all our long-suffering Tesla Roadster deposit holders, and we are actually finally making progress on that, and we're close to finalizing the design on that. It's really going to be something spectacular. A friend of mine, Peter Thiel, and sometimes people think that Peter Thiel and I are rivals. We're really good friends. But to be clear, Peter, was lamenting how the future doesn't have flying cars. Well, we'll see.
More to come.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. The next one is quite similar to other questions we've had, so I might combine it with the final question. So briefly, could you just detail how Robotaxi will roll out? Will it start with a Tesla deployed fleet and then allow customers to add theirs on like a subscription model? And then will Hardware 3 be capable of level 5 FSD?
As regarding the Hardware 3, what we saw with 12.5 was it was easier to make rapid progress with starting with Hardware 4 and figuring out the solution and then backporting it to Hardware 3 instead of directly working on Hardware 3, given that Hardware 4 has more like fundamental hardware capabilities. I think that trend will continue into the next few quarters as well, where we first figure out the solution rapidly with AI4 and then backport it, write the kernels. It just takes longer to develop those things because it's not fundamentally supported in the hardware and it's emulated. But yeah, it's initially working on Hardware 4, backporting it to Hardware 3.
Yeah, so the answer is we're not 100% sure, but our as Ashok mentioned, because by some measures Hardware 4 has really several times the capability of Hardware 3. It's easier to get things to work with Hardware 4, and then it takes a lot of effort to sort of squeeze that functionality into Hardware 3. There is some chance that Hardware 3 does not achieve the safety level that allows for unsupervised FSD. There is some chance of that, and if that turns out to be the case, we will upgrade those who have bought Hardware 3 FSD for free, and we have designed the system to be upgradable. So, and it's really more, just to switch out the computer type of thing. Like the cameras are okay. They're capable, but anyway, we don't actually know the answer to that. But if it does turn out, we'll make sure we take care of those who have bought FSD on Hardware 3.
Great. In the last few minutes that we have left, we will try to get in some analyst questions. questions. The first question will be coming from Pierre Farragut at New Street. Pierre, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Thanks a lot, guys, for taking my question. I was wondering about the compute you're ramping up. So you gave interesting statistics on how much you have, and you said you don't feel your compute constrained. And I was wondering, how you are putting to work this additional compute. Is that a game for you of creating larger and larger models, like next generation of models that are larger, the way OpenAI go from GPT-3 to GPT-4? Or is that more like you're set on your model and you need to throw more and more compute to accelerate the pace of learning to improve reliability? And then I had a quick follow-up, real quick, on your rollout in Texas and in California next year. The plan, as you see it today, is it to roll out a fleet or two with cars that will start with a supervisory, some onboard supervision, someone sitting at the wheel just in case, and removing the supervisors progressively? Or are you aiming for going fully fledged without even a human supervisor when you get started?
Okay, well, I guess regarding I'll answer the first part of the question. The nature of real world AI is different from, say, an LLM, in that you have a massive amount of context. So that you've got case of Tesla 7 or 8 cameras that 9 up to 9 if you include the internal camera that so you've got gigabytes of context, and that is then distilled down into a small number of control outputs. Whereas it's like it's very rare to have. In fact, I'm not sure any LLM out there can do gigabytes of context. And then you've got to then process that in the car with a very small amount of compute power. It's all doable and it's happening, but it is a different problem than what, say, a Gemini or what OpenAI is doing. Now, part of the way you can make up for the fact that the inference computer is quite small is by spending a lot of effort on training. And just like a human, the more you train on something, the less mental workload it takes when you try when you do it. Like when the first time a human starts driving, it absorbs your whole mind. But then as you train more and more on driving, get very good, then the driving becomes a background task. It only absorbs a small amount of your mental capacity because you have a lot of training. So we can make up for the fact that the inference computer is it's tiny compared to a 10 kilowatt bank of GPUs, because you've got a few hundred watts of inference compute. We can make up for that with heavy training. So yeah, that's and then there's also vast amounts of the actual petabytes of data coming in are tremendous. And then sorting out what training is important was, of the vast amounts of video training or video data coming in complete, what is actually most important for training? That's also quite difficult. But as I said, we're not currently training compute constrained. I'm sure if you want to elaborate on it.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the training helps both train larger models, also train quicker. But in the end, we still got to pick which models are performing better. So the validation effort to picking the models, because the miles per intervention is pretty large, we have to drive a lot of miles to go in closed loop. We do have simulation and other ways to get those metrics. Those do help, but in the end, that's a big bottleneck. Yeah, that's why we're not training compute constraint alone. And there's other axis of scaling as well, which is like data, figuring out which data is more useful. That is an important task, and we're focusing on that.
Yeah.
So as it relates to the second part of your question, Pierre, about safety drivers and rolling it out, each state has different requirements that, in terms of how many miles and how much time you need to have a safety driver and not have a safety driver. We're going to follow all those. We're not going to violate whatever regulations are out there, but safety is a priority. But the goal is obviously when we're ready and safety is there, we'll remove all the drivers from the rideshare program.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we think that we'll be able to have driverless Teslas doing paid rides next year, sometime next year.
All right, thank you. And our next question comes from Adam Jonas at Morgan Stanley. Adam, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay, thanks everybody. Just had a question about the relationship between Tesla and xAI. Many investors are still not clear how the work at xAI is truly beneficial to Tesla. Some even take the view that the two companies may even be in competition with each other in terms of talent and tech, and even your time, Elon. So what's your message to investors on that relationship between Tesla and xAI, and where do you see it going over time? Thanks.
Well, I should say that xAI has been helpful to Tesla AI quite a few times in terms of things like scaling up, like training. Just even like recently in the last week or so, improvements in fault-tolerant training, where if you're doing a big training run and a node fails, being able to continue training and easy to recover from on a training run, xAI has been pretty helpful. But there are different problems. xAI is working on artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence. Tesla is trying to make autonomous cars and autonomous robots. They're different problems. So, yeah, I mean,
I think we've said this before also, like not all AI is equal, right? I mean, AI is a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And we have our own swim lanes. Yes, there are certain things which we can collaborate on if needed, but for the most part, we're solving different issues.
Yeah, Tesla's focused on real world AI. And like as I was saying earlier, it is quite a bit different from an LLM. Because you have massive context in the form of video and some amount of audio that's got to be distilled very with extremely efficient inference compute. I do think Tesla is the most efficient in the world in terms of inference compute, because out of necessity, we have to be very good at efficient inference. We can't put 10 kilowatts of GPUs in a car. We've got a couple hundred watts, and it's a pretty well designed Tesla AI chip, but it's still a couple hundred watts. But there are different problems. I mean, it's just, like the stuff that xAI does, like when it's running inference. I mean, it is running inference, like it's answering questions, it's answering Tesla questions on a 10 kilowatt rack. It's like, can't put that in a car. It's a different problem.
Please no.
No, exactly. So, xAI is because I felt there wasn't a truth-seeking digital superintelligence company out there. Like that's what it came down to. That there needed to be a truth-seeking, an AI company that is very rigorous about being truthful. And so I'm not saying xAI is perfect, but that is that is at least the explicit aspiration. Even if something is, politically incorrect, it should still be truthful. I think this is very important for AI safety. So anyway, I think xAI it has been helpful to Tesla and will continue to be helpful to Tesla, but there are very different problems. Great. And I mean, like, if you also think like what other car company has a world-class chip design team? Like zero. What other car company has a world-class AI team like Tesla does? Zero. Those were all startups that were created from scratch.
Great. Thank you, Elon. And I think that's unfortunately all the time that we have for today. We appreciate all of your questions and we look forward to hearing you next quarter. Thank you very much and goodbye.
对，财报结束了。对，总体而言，这次财报我觉得，可能首先就是说大家对它太悲观了吧，这是我的感觉。华尔街而言也好，还是我们股东也好，对它的一个本身的特斯拉的预期特别低，这是我的感觉。但我们看出来一个比较好的趋势，就是说它这些数据开始有一个反弹性的上升吧，无论是一个毛利也好。还是一些其他数据也好，就是说财报方面也开始慢慢变得好看了啊。我觉得这一点可能是主要支撑它股价上升的原因吧。对，但是短期股价呢，如果作为长期投资者而言，我们也没有那么 care 吧。我自己是没有那么 care 的，我更关心一些长期的一些趋势和一些技术层面吧。对。那我感觉大家还有没有什么问题或想讨论的，我们可以来稍微讨论一下。如果没有的话，我们可能待会儿再过个10来分钟就结束了。我再回到那个财报信息上。对，大家有任何想讨论点或问题，我可以来组织我们聊一下这样。看一下啊，对，我又回到这个财报的 slide 里面 ，slide deck 里面。对 XAI 的话，的确，我们这一次我参加现场的那个，就 WeRobot 活动的时候，也感觉到了，如果它那个完全是不用远程操控，就说它那个通过大语言模型或者脑子上的这个 AI，它就能实现自主驱动各种行动也好，跟完成各种任务，那就是非常厉害了。但短期的话，的确是需要远程控制嘛。长期的话，看是不是就是需要 XAI 来完成这一部分的一个闭环吧。老马之前也说过要收购 XAI 嘛，但是的确好像在这个财报里面提出来后，他也没有太大的一个反应，也没说会去投票啥的，所以后续也不太清楚了。然后我看啊，对。电池续航的话，的确不是特别清楚诶。那个500迈，这个我感觉它短期它没有这个计划要把续航做得特别长，这个是我自己的一个判断吧。你看 CyberCat 的确它稍微留了一部分后面的空间可以去增加这个续航，我知道它可以外接自己的电池包，但长期而言，我感觉没有这个特别大明确的答案说他想要把这个续航做长另外一部分我们可能可以看到，就是说它这个在超充方面有没有进步，对吧？如果充电特别快的话，特别方便的话，那也许这个续航的问题就慢慢变得不是问题了嘛。就像充 iPhone 一样方便的话。FSD 来澳洲的话，好像对 FSD 来澳洲，我之前看到的 timeline 可能也是明后年的事情吧。它一旦这个在北美实现了这个版本的，就是说 unsupervised FSD，明后年在欧洲、中国和澳洲应该都慢慢会去做这个监管的审批吧。对，但是我觉得这个预期也稍微放低一点，的确没有那么容易，感觉各个国家特别跟监管沾边的话。 再继续稍微瞄一眼这个这个财报的这个东西。刚才看了廉价车型，你们会觉得不做了吗？我自己感觉其实廉价车型还是会有的啊，就是不是说 CyberCat 只有 CyberCat，这我自己的感觉。因为它的确短期内要通过这个下沉市场去打的话，它只有2条途径嘛，一就是继续把这个 Model 3和 Model Y 成本下降，对吧？然后就说能够价格降低，然后提供这个financial 的一些 tools， 就是说无息贷款啊、低息贷款啊，这是一条路子。第二条路子，它要那个能够说增加销量的话，车的销量的话，只有去增加车型嘛，对吧？最好的方式，你去下沉市场的话，还是这个廉价车型。我自己感觉 Robotaxi 推起来没有那么快啊，你们也听到了，老马说了，对吧？这个监管部分，它真的是特别觉得希望有一个全国范围内的一个法律，这样的话，它比如说在全国这样申请一次，那就有各个州的一个营业执照嘛。如果各个州开始申请的话，的确这个速度就是不可控的。那这一部分对特斯拉的这个财务的表现提振的话，我觉得时间说不定放低预期还要到比较后面才能实现啊。然后我想一下，关于那个就是说增加车的销量，老马其实提到了说，明年他希望能够提升20%-30%的这个车的销量嘛。那这个20%-30%怎么来？我觉得光靠这个 Model，光靠这个 Cybertruck 的量产，它也不一定吧，对吧？这肯定是一部分。那我们看看新车型，我自己的感觉，明年是一个新车型的一个大年啊，无论是一个新的 Model Y 也好，还是廉价车型也好，我自己感觉是明年会出来的。只是说这个老马他不想去讨论这些新车的问题，其实以前他说过好几次，他就是英文里面我记得叫做 Osborne Effect， 就是说如果那些新的顾客知道他在未来某个时间或者近期或者过半年要出新车的话，他暂时就不买老车了，你知道吗？所以其实老马他特别小心，他尽量不去提未来半年1年的这个新车的计划，这样的话就不会说对短期的销量产生一个特别大影响嘛。所以短期就是说未来1-2年对财报，我觉得我们主要看的第一可能最大的一个亮点是 energy 方面嘛。energy 我们看到它的这个 growth 对吧 ？energy 方面都是40-50%这样在增长的，而且老马说了没有这个 demand 的问题嘛，对吧？这个 energy 52%嘛 year over year，然后这个订单一直在积压，所以暂时短期的未来1-2年的财报可能就是首先看这个 energy， 第二部分就是这个 FSD 的 subscription 吧，我觉得 FSD 的这个 revenue 也是一大 service and other revenue， 就是说我觉得充电方面的一些收入也会有一部分提振吧。其他方面 CyberCat 我真的觉得它的你就算要明年落地对吧？你1-2个周落地，那个对它财报有多大提振，我真的不觉得有多大提振。快速总结一下财报内容，我想一下，继续降价的确挺可能的，对。你们看到吗？其实特斯拉你们觉得特斯拉短期它就是销量有压力吗？我个人觉得是肯定有压力的，因为 你看到这些各种低息的一些贷款嘛，对吧？各种销售的这些政策，它如果完全没有压力的话，它根本不需要做这些降价的动作。你想我当时买特斯拉的时候，真的 demand 非常高，然后它产能也没跟上，也比较低的时候，那时候哪有销量？那时候哪有这些各种政策嘛？目前的确它就是说它这个 volume 生产的量是特别高的时候，它的确需要去做一些金融上的政策啊，去把它的车都卖出去嘛。所以，然后它的车的确如果比较在中国的话，它跟其他车型比已经慢慢落后，相对变老了嘛。大家肯定会考虑这个你这个车是几年出来的一个问题。但是呢，特斯拉通过这些金融工具就的确提振了很大家的这个消费购买欲望嘛，所以在这个新外出来的这个间隔期能够稳固这个销量，的确蛮不错的，我自己觉得。然后它这个你们也看到特斯拉其实一直在做的就是说它把它的成本控制，对吧？它优化生产工艺，然后看看能不能车里面某个配件给它拿掉，这样来降低成本嘛。所以的确这一部分特斯拉比较独特的一个地方，我觉得这也是给他们一部分的底气去降低这个车的成本嘛。那你不可能在损失大量的毛利的情况下做这件事，对不对蛮不错的是，我们至少就是说目前我看一下目前我们看到了这个毛利开始企稳了嘛，对吧？其实前面一段过去的几个季度，大家最担心的就是这个毛利嘛，你看对吧？这个23年开始，基本上就是5%到8%的一个状态，真的非常低，对吧？那当你其他的这个利润没起来 ，AI 暂时也，华尔街肯定没有那么了解特斯拉的 AI 嘛，你的车的毛利又这么低，对吧？这个 operating margin 营运的毛利又这么低的时候，那大家的这个 thesis 就是一个理论，就是你特斯拉就是一个车企，对吧？那个经济周期一旦不好，你就开始特别难受了。但是这个季度呢，你看对吧？开始有这个上升的一个迹象了，达到了一个10%嘛，对吧？这个车的毛利，我看车的毛利它写在哪车的毛利应该也是在提升的一个状态，对，就是它各项数据它开始变好了嘛，你看 gross margin 也在增加，对吧？但是这一部分 gross margin 增加呢，应该很大一部分还是因为这个 energy。我们知道这个 energy 的，他刚才提到他这个能源特别赚钱，对吧？能源的毛利是30%嘛，车只有应该15、16这个样子吧，还是17，反正就挺低的能源特别高，供不应求。对，我看能不能再看一下有没有什么信息给快速浏览一下，有没有什么新的信息，它财报里没提到的。对，其实我特别推荐大家就自己也研究一下财报，还是有很多信息的。就他会告诉你，比如说它的收入为什么涨，然后毛利和利润为什么涨，主要的原因，对吧？这其实还蛮详细的。看一下还有个东西，就是说特斯拉它短期内不会布局新的厂了，这一个是它会提升已有这个工厂 Gigafactory 的产能嘛，对吧？包括 廉价车型啊 ，CyberCat 可能短期都是在已有的工厂里生产啊，这个这工厂方面的投入就会非常低了嘛。对啊，华尔街，我感觉这一次大家你看到股价表现就对了嘛，从可能10月10号之前是一个分水岭，对吧？10月10号的时候之前大家对它的期待完全拉满，但是就这个10月10号的发布会后，大家就觉得啥都没聊，华尔街就很失望嘛，那一路就不看好了，我觉得是这样。对，但是这一次数据呢，的确是相对比较超出预期吧，我觉得，然后有回转上升的一个趋势吧，但大家其实暂时不用纠结太多短期的这些 noise，股价方面的 noise， 我说的是。车的方面，那个 Semi 也是一个看点嘛，不过要26年可能才开始量产啊。老马对这个是非常有信心的，也觉得没有这个需求端的问题啊，需求非常强劲。Roadster 对吧？这个跑车方面，那基本上我觉得是暂时遥遥无期了啊。老马说这个 Roadster 刚要那个定最终的这个方案嘛，怎么造，外形是什么？这个 Roadster 就不用去想了。但是 Roadster 本身呢，它对最多就对特斯拉品牌有用吧。你真说它要对财报产生什么影响，那也不可能的，我觉得。对，然后我看一下啊，上海。AI 方面，我们看看 AI 方面啊，对，反正就是特斯拉的财报分3部分看嘛，我们一般就是你如果业务方面而言的话，就先看车，然后先看能源，再看能源，再看 AI，你可以把车想成是目前的收入的一个主力，然后能源是 upcoming， 就是说未来2到3年我们可能指望能源的比较多，那真在长期。比如说3到5年甚至10年，那就是 AI 的产品，对吧？一个 FSD，Robotaxi， 还有这个机器人，看一下啊，对，反正我自己个人最关心肯定是这个 FSD 嘛，对吧？在未来的时候，的确我如果大家有注意到它这个 timeline 的话，就是说 AI，特斯拉的 AI 部门嘛，它之前好，我记得9月份的时候发了一个，就是说哪个时间点我们要完成哪些事情，暂时看来是蛮准的，就之前的那些说的是包括就是说这个我想想看啊，Cybertruck 拿到 FSD 啊，还是这个 Hardware 3有这个12.5.4一个12.5.4的版本啊，这些都拿到了。它未来的10月份这个 timeline 我不确定哈，但是老马说了嘛，这个 V13也快要出来了，然后认为有这个6倍的一个就是说 critical intervention 接管方面就是提升对，看一下啊。对，看一下，有问题大家也可以问啊。就暂时躲避救护车、警车、校车。其实，你们可以看到老于其实前几天来我 Boston 了嘛，他做了一个直播，里面我们刚开始直播的时候就遇到了一辆救护车，其实好像那个目前没有这个避让的功能，好像暂时没有。但老于说哈，之前在端到端之前就是这个 hard code rule base 就是需要编程编出来它怎么开的时候，他们是有一个 team 在那里做这件事的，就是要避让小车啊啥的，但到端后可能这个优先级下降了，但是最终肯定会实现的啊，我觉得。FSD 值不值得购买？Hardware 3啊，我觉得看你吧。我刚才我们有个分歧，我可能边在直播边打字，有点没听清楚，到底马斯克说的是，就是说你买一辆新车的时候给你 transfer 这个把你这个 FSD 挪到下一辆车里呢，还是把你直接3代车 Hardware 3的这个车直接把硬件更新成 Hardware 4？我觉得两种可能性都是存在的，因为的确 Hardware 3有200万辆车左右嘛，我记得是你这个200万辆车都是能够潜在成为 Robotaxi 的，通过升级以后，那你说你都让大家去买新车，大家也不一定会去买嘛，那你如何把现有的这个资产这个200万辆车用起来，那也许马斯克会提供这个升级的方案，我觉得这也是有可能的。不过现在可能他是打个问号的嘛，他不知道。我自己哈，我其实在发布会上你们可以去看我可能还要出一期视频讨论，我是大声问马斯克这个 Hardware 3能不能成为 Robotaxi 的，因为当时的时候就有个场景，马斯克说所有的车都可以成为 Robotaxi， 有人问 Cybertruck 可不可以， Model XS 行不行，他都说行，然后我就在下面起哄嘛，我说Hardware 3可不可以，他当时就是说我们不要去纠结这个细节了，我当时就想，哎呀，这个概率可能相对比较低了，我打的概率是20%到30%吧，我感觉啊，对，这一点不确定的嘛，所以我们得看。然后，对，其他的话 ，service， 它这个 service 方面就服务我们也听到了，这个服务其实它增长是比较快的嘛，但是服务方面呢，它其实不太想说通过去修你车或者是这样一些传统的一些服务项目去收你钱嘛。他说 best service is no service， 他想把他车造得特别好，特别就是说耐用，然后有 FSD 以后呢，你这个车安全性也特别强，所以他其实没有那么想从service 上你赚你的钱啊。唯一一部分就是它这个充电方面嘛，它充电它是要赚你钱的。我们也可以看到，它会继续铺开它的充电网络，然后这一部分方面的就是说增长也是还可以的，有22%的一个增长嘛，year over year， 对。那你看到这个 energy 是最猛的，对吧？这个 energy 的确猛这个增长的趋势。然后我们来看看这个 outlook， 就是它未来的这个预期嘛。我们看看啊。对，反正那个就两部分，车方面呢，它就是说要把3和 Y 推到更多地方，对吧？下沉市场也好，还是更多国家也好，这是第一部分。然后第二部分呢，它是要那个推出新的产品嘛，然后所以 Model 2或者 Model Q 我觉得是更便宜的产品是有的，其他的产品也可能还会有，只是它没有宣布而已，对吧？有可能会有的。然后能源方面呢，它2024年准备就是相比前一年要翻倍啊，这个是我们也看到目前能源是非常可以的。Cash 方面，现金方面它一直在增长，对吧？包括这个季度我看，是吧？现金应该 也是在增长的吧。对，它现金对吧，至少在这里增长了3个 billion 嘛，还是很不错的。year over year 也增长了29%，所以在这么难的时候，它这个现金还在增长，然后那这部分现金它就能够去为长期这个 AI 项目去做大量的投入嘛，我觉得这个还是蛮好的。看一下啊 ，profit， 对，反正大家可以看到前段时间年初的时候裁员裁的特别厉害嘛，就增加效率，然后还要提高这个制造工艺，去降低这个制造车的成本，对。然后长期我们要去观察的一个趋势哦，这也很重要，就是说，现在主要是卖车嘛，然后卖能源，那我们看看哪个节点，它特别明显，就是 software 软件方面，这个 AIFSD 的方面这一部分的就是说毛利会开始占总营收的，这一部分的利润会占总营收的一个大头。这样的话，那慢慢的大家就会开始认可特斯拉它是一个 AI 公司，它不是一个车企，对吧？目前为止，的确，你看啊好像80-90%的收入吧，我记得70-80%的收入还是来自于卖车嘛，啊。你看啊，这是Model 2和 Model Q 是肯定有的，或 Model Q 是肯定有的嘛，它这里都写了，对吧 ？More affordable models 廉价车型，2025年，你看它时间都给了2025年的上半年，对，然后会用这个 unbox 的一个新的一个制造工艺嘛，他自己说就是说好像是拼玩具汽车一样的那种工艺啊，对，反正也是提高效率嘛，我看你们还有没有什么其他问题，我们再讨论个5分钟10分钟，可能我就要去吃饭了，我还没有吃饭，看一下啊，你们什么问题？对，朋友们订阅起来啊！我那个如果效果好的话，我争取每一次都做一个财报电话会议，这个直播，因为其实我每次都会自己去看嘛，我觉得做个直播也差不多，然后也能给大家一个讨论的平台，我们可以分享一些及时的这个信息嘛，解读，对财报解读，对。特斯拉最糟糕的时期结束了吗？哎呀，这个你要看这个时间线放在多长的一个维度嘛？我觉得特斯拉这个公司啊，你不给个3到5年这个时间线，你很难说啊，因为你包括在长期这个 AI 的方面，对吧？你监管部门的 approval 会不会出个黑天鹅？比如说明年，对吧？监管部门说，哎呀，我又需要你哪些数据，或者推迟到后年，这些你说成为黑天鹅的话，对它短期股价影响是肯定有的，对不对？然后这个马斯克也聊了嘛，这个你有些不可预见的政治啊、战争啊、地缘政治啊各种因素，所以你如果只为了看特斯拉未来的1-2年，我觉得那你可能不太适合投特斯拉这个公司。皮卡生产能力会提升吗？我觉得好像我暂时我可能没有听到吧，肯定是提升的嘛。对，我们也可以看到最近它其实把这个创始版的 CyberTruck 已经给取消了嘛，它把这个廉价版的 CyberTruck 已经推出了，也不说廉价版的 CyberTruck 吧，只是说非创始版的，你不用买那个 各种套装了嘛，所以慢慢的 Cybertruck 肯定是会价格会更加下降一点，当这个产能提升的时候，对。对啊，那你想嘛，这个 AI 对吧？除了英伟达 ，AI 你真说它赚钱的，那目前为止主要就是英伟达嘛，对吧？包括 OpenAI 也在剧烈的这个烧钱的一个过程中，大家的确对 AI 的这个未来还是某些部分还是处于一个 hype 的状态嘛。也实质性产生收入的的确不多啊，所以特斯拉这个 FSD 我自己觉得是最接近于那个成型的一个 AI 产品吧。我们看它会就说之后能不能把这个 AI 赚钱这个落地。FSD 其他公司不考虑，我觉得这个东西啊，就是，可能它这个首先就是说它，我觉得需要1、2家公司，它首先，这个是非线性发展的。你们去想之前那个超充的吧，超充的情况就是说1、2家巨头，比如说福特、GM，它宣布要加入特斯拉超充网络，然后要用它的这个充电的一个标准的时候，那陆陆续续的马上很多其他的一些公司都会想要加入嘛，有这个好像有一个效应在那里，所以的话 FSD 也许也在出现这种情况，对吧？就是说短期内可能大家都在观望特斯拉这个 FSD 到底怎么样，能不能做成 unsupervised 的 FSD 无监督的 FSD。一旦有比如说福特 GM 要加入这个FSD 的话，也许大家开始都用它这一套东西了，那的确这一部分的话，它就会是一个短期的 catalyst， 有可能的。如果你说陆续公司都宣布加入特斯拉 FSD 网络了，你们还有其他问题吗？我现在暂时好像没有看到了，我再等2分钟，没有问题的话我就结束了。对吧？你看啊，这张图就显示了我们为什么这么要关注特斯拉中国嘛。你看嘛，中国已经占到EV market share 已经占到12%了嘛。对，的确中国是竞争最激烈的一个地方啊。特斯拉在那边的份额也特别大，他们那边的工厂对吧？不仅是卖给中国的，而且是负责销往，我记得欧洲好像有部分欧洲或者周边的这个亚太地区都是中国把这部分车卖出去的，所以我们还是要关注特斯拉中国。对，上一周我们其实在 Space 里聊了蛮多这样的内容，请到了 Chris 嘛，郑小康。你看除了中国，其他是有一点点速度是相对比较慢的嘛。其他我觉得差不多。好，吃饭了。那我也不知道吃啥，反正我去看，我点了一个外卖今天，对，吃面。好，那就先这样吧。感谢大家，然后 没有关注我的可以关注一下，我之后看看能不能每个季度我都播一下财报，这样跟大家聊一下。好，拜拜。